Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's Cabinet meeting. We are being webcast live, and people can get the recording on YouTube at a later point as well. In terms of fire evacuation procedures this evening, there are no fire alarms scheduled, so if the fire alarm does go off, please evacuate through the building, which is out the door at the back of the room, out into the main reception area, and out to the War Memorial Park. Please don't run away. We want to count everybody out who is here this evening and make sure everyone is okay. So please don't leave us as you exit the building if there is a fire alarm, but we're not expecting one. In terms of the microphones, if I can remind colleagues and officers, please to use the microphone in front of them and move it forward, but don't move it away, otherwise you'll disappear off the TV screen. And in terms of mobile telephones, can I ask everybody to turn them on to silent or to turn them off, please? The agenda this evening is pretty full, so we're going to go through it, starting with item 1, which is apologies for absence. I've got Councillor Cubitt and Councillor Mackay who have issued their apologies for this evening. And do I have an item 2, any declarations of interest to any of the items on the agenda from anybody? No. Urgent matters? There are none. Minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of January. Do I have your permission to sign them as a true and accurate record of the meeting we held? I will do so and sign them later and give them to Dem Services. Item 5 is leader and portfolio holder announcements. I just wanted to pick out something this evening that related to an exchange of letters between myself and Luke Murphy MP this morning, and also pick up what's in the budget papers this evening. It's really good to see in the budget papers the £1.4 million that we're proposing tonight in the budget for the Chinham medical practice. Now that's in line with the request that we received from the ICB, and that's a major commitment from this administration to the expansion of that doctor's surgery. We're also leading the way with a new surgery proposed for Whitchurch, working with the developer and working with the community in the practice. We're also working and committed to, with Vivid, a new surgery in Winkleberry. It was, however, disappointing to note that the Integrated Care Board didn't choose to go ahead with the town centre hub proposal we put to them. And what that really reflects on, it's not just about building these surgeries or building the physical facilities, because the ICB also need to be able to run those facilities and have the doctors, nurses and staff to fit them out. And that is a major problem for them given their financially perilous position. When we think about the process we've gone through, actually going back with the SIL protocol that we adopted, that was something that we prioritised as an administration when we came into office in May 2023 to actually have a SIL protocol in the first place. And that was used for the first time and has been used, and this is the first bid to come through from the ICB. But we regularly meet with the ICB to understand their intentions around expanding their programme of primary care facilities in the borough. And we are working with them to ensure that the strategic developments that are planned will be appropriately served. But even then, it doesn't matter how much we commit, it doesn't matter how much money this council commits in SIL, the ICB will not financially be able to run those services and staff those facilities with doctors and nurses unless funding from other sources is also forthcoming, like the government. Would anybody else like to comment? I know Andy has an infrastructure cabinet member. Andy.
Thank you very much, Paul. Yes, I just want to explore a little bit more about some of the SIL challenges that we face, because I don't think that's been clear in some of the public letters that have been issued over the past couple of days. So, as you said, Paul, we put together a SIL spend protocol. We put that in place once we actually had a meaningful amount of SIL contributions, once we collected those. I think it's important to stress that there is a delay between a project getting planning consent and us then receiving the SIL funding. It doesn't happen instantaneously, unfortunately. Now that we do have enough in our SIL pot to start making a real difference, we do want to go ahead and start spending the money in line with the SIL protocol. And we're taking a decision tonight that is going to request that the council does exactly that. So that's good news, but I think it's really important that we don't get carried away here. The SIL pot is not going to be the solution to every infrastructure challenge that we face in our borough. Paul's already alluded to the fact that it can pay for a new doctor's surgery, but it can't necessarily staff the people needed to run that surgery. But it goes a lot further than that, the challenges that we face, in that it's unlikely that the SIL contributions will cover all of the infrastructure requirements that we face. So we forecast that we'll need around £67 million worth of SIL money to pay for all of the infrastructure that's been identified in our current infrastructure delivery plans, the one from 2017. But will we get all of this 67 million? Well, the government's planning rules mean that we, as the local planning authority, have to take viability into account when we ask developers for SIL contributions. And in practice, this causes us problems because the reality is that we're not allowed to ask developers, or certainly we're not always allowed to ask developers for everything that we need from a SIL perspective, because it might make the scheme unviable and then it's not delivered. And that's not what the government wants from its planning policy. And that's causing us a lot of infrastructure problems. So, bear with me, we are using a large chunk of the infrastructure pot to invest in this GP surgery in Chinham, which, as Paul mentions, hopefully we'll make this decision as a cabinet tonight, which will then go to council. And we've done that just as our MP has requested. But we also ask that he listens to us and feeds back our concerns about our infrastructure funding shortfall to his colleagues in government. As things stand, government policy means that we will struggle to collect all of the money we need to allow our infrastructure to grow alongside our population. We're not going to be able to afford all of the upgrades that all of our doctors' surgeries need. And that won't change unless the government prioritises infrastructure funding as part of its planning reforms. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Okay, colleagues. Item 6 on the agenda is Council Plan Progress Update Report. This is our chance to feed back to residents, to fellow councillors, to our partners, the fact that we've been implementing our council plan, which we adopted in 2023, which was an amendment of the council plan that the council already had. So we amended that council plan to update it with some of our priorities, key priorities. So this document before you this evening goes through those priorities and sets out, over the past 2 years, some of the key achievements that we've delivered on. And some of those are really important if you think about the news that we've been having. The ice rink, for example, being refurbished. The fact that Many Down North has now been done as a deal and is coming forward for development. The fact that Festival Place is under new owners and we've seen significant investment. The fact that we hope to make a decision soon on the future of our aquadrome and a new aquadrome coming forward. Major decisions that affect the future of our borough. Major statistics for simply looking after 6,000 miles of roads of street cleaning. Amazing amounts of work that go on. 14 million black bins emptied every single. It's absolutely huge figures about the services that we provide day in, day out, week in, week out to our residents. So as you go through this document, you will see what we've achieved. For example, over 326 new homes and more parking in Basingview. Over 567 new affordable homes, just as one particular example. But colleagues, is there anything else that you'd like to draw out of the report that you've seen that you might like to highlight? Laura?
Thank you. Before I start, what I'd like to say also is just say thank you to the officers, because I think the way that this report is presented is really easy to read and I love it. I actually think it's user friendly, so a really big thank you for that. Also, a big thank you for the officers in relation to my area of work and what has been achieved, because it's been a very busy 2 years. But what I want to pick out really is if I can just talk about the 1.5 million in frontline services in street care and grounds maintenance. We've just finished work the team has just finished work in Rooksdown, and I was sent the photographs this week to see what they look like, the before and after. And it is just so impressive as to what is achieved. And every time they come out of an area, they do send those photographs to the ward councillors and myself. And it is just so impressive to see what we're achieving across the borough. And so I think that's just something that wasn't happening before, and that was something that people were really concerned about, members and the community. You wouldn't believe the number of letters and comments that we receive from the public to say thank you. I mean, it's just enormous, and maybe that's one that we ought to add up as a to give that as a stat, because it's so impressive. The other work that they've done with this money is it's the improvements to the front of the station and the work out there on the ground. And again, so many people have fed back how wonderful that area looks. And the peripheral roads in and out of the town centre, if you look at all of the work that's been done to cut back the trees and the hedging, and it's our commitment to improving the town centre and the top of town. It's leaving and entering the town centre and how that looks and how it feels. This week, the teams are working on allotments and tidying up the ground around allotments. That's the bushes and the trees. And so, it's not just the estates that these teams work on, but, it's just given a sense of just how much work this team has done. Apparently, they've worked on a total area of size that equates to 506 football pitches. So that's quite a large area. And they have been in and they've made a difference, I think that this team is about making a difference and has made a difference. So a big thank you to what's been done, but also the additional money that we're going to be investing in the frontline services. I just want to pick out one area is we're going to employ, if the budget goes through, we're going to be employing 2 maintenance operatives with obviously vans, and that they will work across parks and street care on the assets that we own and manage, delivering a schedule of reactive program and routine maintenance work that which was historically outsourced or wasn't done at all. So a lot of this work that they will be doing has never been addressed. Repaving, painting, replacing bins and the hard standings, repainting street furniture, benches, signs and bus shelters, removing, cleaning and repairing signs, unblocking and repainting internal walls and ceilings of public toilets, repointing brickwork and filling potholes. Now, I just want to so the community are clear, this isn't potholes on public highways. I mean, I'd love it to be, but this is on the land that we own. But we'll be doing our bit in relation to potholes, maintenance and maintaining highway barriers and minor works in play areas. So that's just a little bit of area that additional work. So we've done a lot in relation to the last 2 years, but we're not standing still. We realise there's still lots more that needs to be done. And I think as I said, the community and residents are really supportive of this area of work. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Andy.
Thank you very much, Paul. I'm wearing my ward councillor hat for Brighton Hill. I'd like to thank Laura and the officer team for the incredible work they've done, particularly in terms of street care and grounds maintenance. We do an annual resident survey in Brighton Hill, and we ask them about how they think that the area is dealing with litter and with overgrown trees, hedges, bushes. And we've seen a massive improvement over the last few years as a result of these initiatives that you've discussed. The Making a Difference team has been there twice as well. And yeah, it's very much living up to its name. Putting my portfolio holder hat back on, probably 3 highlights to pick out from the perspective of planning and infrastructure. The local plan obviously has been a poison chalice, but we are making our way through it. So we inherited a local plan that had stalled under the previous administration. We got it going again. We went through Regulation 18, and then the National Planning Policy rules changed, so we had to go back to the beginning with a call for sites. We have just completed our second Regulation 18. The officers are now ploughing through thousands of responses, and we are, it's very much our ambition to go to the final set of consultation, Regulation 19 consultation this summer. We are onto our 3rd MPPF. We expect a 4th before our local plan is published. So it's been a massive job just to get us to where we are. So I'd like to thank officers for that. The next bit is then around EV charging. So as we know, we declared a climate and ecological emergency. As part of that, we are setting ourselves ambitious targets to be net zero as a borough and as an administration. Part of that needs to be around encouraging residents and supporting residents in making the switch to less carbon intensive travel. So obviously we're doing quite a lot around cycling and walking, but I think we also recognise that that residents will want access to private cars. That's not going to change anytime soon. So we have developed our borough's first ever electric vehicle EV charging strategy, and we've been rolling that out as of the start of this current municipal year. We now have public EV chargers in every ward in our borough, which is a huge achievement, something I'm incredibly proud of, and we're continuing to invest to continue to double down on that to make sure that if residents do want to charge EV vehicles, there'll be an opportunity for them to do that. And then the third and final point is around parking spaces. Putting my ward councillor hat back on, the biggest issue we get, the biggest sort of area of complaint that we get from residents in Brighton Hill is around parking problems. Obviously, a lot of the houses, a lot of the streets were built in Brighton Hill back in the 60s and 70s when most households had one car maximum. We now live in a world that's very different, and the streets weren't designed for that number of cars. We've been investing as a borough, and we are one of the few boroughs, if not perhaps not the only borough in the country that actually does this, where we retrofit car parking spaces in our existing developments, and we've created over 100 of them in the past few years, and it makes a real difference. Whenever those schemes are installed, you notice a huge improvement, and as Laura says, you get those letters, those emails, and you have those conversations with residents that they have really improved their quality of life. So lots in here. I've just picked out 3 points, and really grateful for the opportunity to work alongside my cabinet colleagues to deliver all of this.
Thank you, Andy. Chris.
Thank you, Leader. So I'd like to update the committee with some key items. Probably I'll go on a little bit longer because there are quite a few, but to do with the climate and ecological work that the teams have delivered against this plan. So breaking it up into the climate change first, the officer team within my portfolio has led the cultural change within this council to place climate change at the heart of everything we do. We're taking steps to reduce our own carbon footprint and help others to do the same throughout the borough. We've updated our climate and air quality strategy with support from our community after working with key stakeholders and a consultation programme. We are now targeting a net zero borough by 2045, which is in line with many of our partners and 5 years ahead of the government's current aims. We are currently delivering solar panels to 12 of our community halls. I think the first 4 are in production or very close to, and we've already seen the potential of the carbon savings that they're going to deliver as a result. We are able to gather accurate production data via lots of the apps that exist for such systems. So that's good news. Our green team has been expanded, and we are starting to receive evidence that we have made a difference in both residents' energy and financial savings. The team has spoken to over 10,000 people, visited over 1,500 homes and businesses. Again, my colleague Councillor Konechko has mentioned the chargers. I think we've got 50 EV chargers, one in each ward, but we do still face challenges on delivering on-street charging with our Hampshire County Council colleagues. So just moving then on to biodiversity, again, the team has delivered an updated biodiversity action plan, introduced the biodiversity net gain duty that we have to do with the 10% government minimum currently for developers to deliver. We contributed to and have now incorporated the local nature recovery strategy in partnership with Hampshire County Council for all of Hampshire. We have detailed knowledge now and maps of areas of our borough, listing areas of protection for species and habitats and opportunity areas for nature restoration. And this goes hand in hand with us also helping to form our local plan policies. Our ranger team delivers action on our land and works currently with 18 volunteer conservation groups, which is also amongst their own delivery programmes for the land within our ownership. Our BIZ, that's Biodiversity Improvement Zone pilot project, has been completed. It's been very successful, with many species returning and thriving in their natural habitat in the targeted urban area, and we're planning to roll this out to further areas. We are also working on a Right of Rivers document to help us vitalise and protect our rivers and chalk streams. We are imminently expecting to adopt this. We have just commissioned an updated green and blue strategy, and we are declaring a new local nature reserve, hopefully later tonight, Little Pen Wood, and we are preparing an updated local nature reserve adoption list right now. So I'll then put now breathe, because I think we should. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. Kerry.
Thank you, Paul. Right, so I'm very happy with the performance from both my teams, both in sports, leisure and culture. Starting off with sport, we've got 3 major venues that we have to look after in Tadley Pool, the Aquadrome and the Basingstoke Golf Centre. I think that's been going really well, and especially the way we've worked with our partners there, the operators. We've got a huge list of works we've done to look after all our sports pitches and sports facilities. I won't go through them all, but we've resurfaced tennis courts, improved the netball courts, and the main thing is that we've just kept everything in a good condition, and we've looked to improve it where we can. In the future, we've got a new we've got a new strategy coming in. It's very much about active well-being, and that's going to really. The main goal of that is to get more residents participating in either sport or any wellbeing activities. So that's what we'll be concentrating going forward. Getting into the culture side, we've improved. We've put, we've helped the Anvil with the actual building fabric. We've got an excellent events team. They've done their normal programme, but each year I think they get slightly better. We've got Let's Glow in a couple of weeks now, a light trail through the War Memorial Park. Also, Listen Up was a relatively new thing where we're trying to inspire venues to take up live music in the top of town and throughout the borough, which is going very well. We also support things like Diwali and Pride. In the other thing I'd like to just shout out is actually moving forward to now and going forward, we've got the bid for Town of Culture. And also this very much aligns with what we've been doing anyway when we've got a culture incubator, and Basingstoke is a hidden gem for culture. We've got grassroots, homegrown performers working out spaces like Proteus, and actually it's really rich, and it's more the small things that I think people miss. Other than that, it was a bit of a rush to try and put something together today, but I'll pass over to Gavin. Cheers.
Thanks, Kerry.
Bye.
Gavin.
Yeah, well, I'm going to, obviously Councillor Mackay's not here tonight, and I think he'd want to talk a lot about the community work that's going on, but I'll take it through a different phase. I'll take you from birth onwards. So first of all, huge investment in our play areas and a much improved maintenance programme for play areas. Young people getting out, being active, playing, meeting new friends, etc. Really important part of what we do as a council, and it's great to see some of the play areas in my own ward. I know that the one behind the Roger Morris Centre is coming up, but I've been around and visited a few of the new ones. And they just look stunning. We've done an amazing piece of work, not just the new ones that we're building, but also actually the improved maintenance of the ones we've got and an ongoing improvement programme. Alongside that, there's things this council does that other councils don't. We've helped young people get work. We've looked at the relaxed kids sessions and counselling, which other borough councils wouldn't normally get behind, but we do because we recognise how important it is for communities to have that. And a lot of that's delivered through our network of community centres. Nearly 1 million people have been visiting our community centres, maintaining them and improving them, making sure we've got fantastic operators. We've got some amazing volunteers out there doing incredible work, keeping those centres going. We've also supported many community groups. When we took over as administration, we cancelled the cuts to community grants. We've restored them and support many community organisations that own objectives match our own vision and plans, and that means that we can help more people. Perhaps one of the biggest organisations is the CAB. Our commitment to the CAB was already very strong, and when their circumstances changed, that commitment didn't. We stayed solid and behind them and managed to get some more outreach delivered in some of the sort of more areas where they needed more, such as Buckskin, Popley, areas like that. They offered an outreach service which we helped fund, and obviously we helped them find a new location after County Council decided that they should be removed from the library. Huge amounts of work done in the community. When you get to the older people, obviously we've got our events, our community walks that we offer, and some targeted programmes to help manage health conditions, which 746 people have benefited from. Lots of activities to keep older people active, addressing things such as cardiac problems and Parkinson's. These, again, they're all on top of what a normal borough council does, because we care about the community. We're here for all people, and that's represented in the things we've delivered and done over the last couple of years.
Thank you, Gavin. It's a real track history of what we've done over the past 2 years, but I want to say a massive thank you to the officer team. None of this would be possible without the officer team we work with, without all the volunteers of all the organisations who work with us too, without our partners, be that in Festival Place, be it our housing association partners, be it the third sector and the Basingstoke Voluntary Action and all the team that work with us. Throughout the whole community team, throughout the whole organisation that we have here, throughout all of our relationships, what this shows is the strength of where Basingstoke and Dean is at. And I really encourage people to go and have a look at some of the statistics in here because they will blow you away with the amount of work that goes on. So this is a picture, this is a snapshot of the current 2 years. We don't rest on our laurels. We've got 2 years to go on the plan before it's renewed. But this is a direction of travel we're going in, and I commend it to you, colleagues, if you are happy to approve it. Moving back to the main agenda, none of this would be possible without a budget to pay for it. There's a budget to cover it. So the budget, Gavin.
Yes, thank you. This is the budget which will go to full council in a couple of weeks' time. Obviously, what's important about this budget is all those good things you see are continuing. This budget sets out those will all continue. There's always minor tweaks and changes within the budget to those things, but there's no cuts to those services. We want to keep them. We're proud of what we've achieved and we're not going to lose it. So the budget started its journey shortly after the elections last year, June, and has gone through a bit of a process. So we put a draft budget out there. It went to the Resources Committee in November, the draft budget. The general feedback, there was comments around budgets in general, but not any specifics for this one. That was around the amount we spend on equality, inclusion and diversity, and some other comments in relation to how you spread the money fairly between rural and urban areas. But they're general budget observations rather than this budget specifically. So following that, it went out to public consultation. I always like to see that very few people reply to that consultation because they're happy with it, because people, if they're unhappy, do tend to reply quite profusely. So again, generally broad agreement with all our budget proposals. In the meantime, we had government announce the finance settlement because we always start the budget without knowing what money we've got to spend. The government's had a full review of the way they fund local government this year. It doesn't actually make a huge difference to us. We are slightly better off, but they've tapered it in, which means that we don't really get any benefit until about year 3 of the MTFS, by which time we won't exist, which is a bit unfortunate. So it wasn't a disaster, which it could have been. There were some changes to business rates as well, which kind of offset some of that as well. We've since found out a small amount of additional money has come in, so the numbers on this report don't reflect the final result, but it won't make very much difference given the amount of money that was announced this week. So the proposals that we're putting forward to full council, I don't intend to go through them fully now because we've got to do it in 2 weeks' time, are as set out, as agreed before, with minimal changes. I think it's a really positive budget because it builds on what we've already done. It's got some good things in there which are nice top-ups to what we already do. And it does put us in a very strong position. Obviously, we've taken the grown-up approach that just because LGR is happening, we're not going to stop managing every penny well, making sure every penny is spent well. Continued with that, so we've got a balanced budget for the next 3 years. There is some work to do in year 4. We won't be here in year 4, but we'll carry on working as hard as we've always done because there is a new authority. We will be here, the community will be here, the council will be a different name, but we've got a responsibility to the future as well. So balanced budget to go to full council.
Thank you, Gavin. Colleagues, any comments? No, debated this extensively between us all. On pages 39 and 40 of agenda item 7, which is the medium-term financial strategy and budget update report, that's the recommendation, the first report that we need to go through. So on page 39 and 40, rolling on to 41 actually, just with item 20, those are the recommendations before us. As Gavin rightly says, this is a balanced budget. This is a budget of investment, not cuts, and that's really important to emphasise, and residents can hopefully have confidence in the direction that their council's going in, particularly with local government reorganisation in front of us. We're going to hand over a council in a really good condition, and that's the whole point. Our first duty is to maintain a good, sound, well-run council, and that's the responsibility that we want to fulfil and are. So, colleagues, item 7, page 39, page 40, page 41, are you happy to approve the recommendation on the paper? Agreed. Item 8 on the agenda is then the capital programme for the budget. Okay.
Yeah, so the capital programme, for any borough council, this is a hugely ambitious programme, a huge expensive programme. Most of that is driven by the fact that we're replacing the Aquadrome, which obviously is going to cost a huge amount of money. It's probably the most this authority has ever spent on a single item, and many of us will ever spend in our political careers on a single item. But it has to be done, and it's worth doing to deliver a great facility that will serve generations to come. So it is a budget that there's an additional £31 million going into the budget this year, into the capital programme. Before anyone gets too alarmed, it is a rolling programme. So anything that we add in, a lot of it is around stuff that happens every year. Obviously, last year is now finished. There's a new year at the end of the programme. But within that, there is also the sort of final payments for the leisure park. We've put the leisure park payments over a period of time. What we've tried to do in recent years is to make sure that the capital programme is actually delivered. You remember the first year we took over, we inherited a programme which I think was something like £23 million underspent, which doesn't help at all in terms of understanding cash flow. So we put things in the programme realistically believing we can deliver them within that period. And I think at that point it's probably worth mentioning some of the things that there may be concern expressed around things that aren't in this programme. One, of course, is Westside Community Centre. We and ahed a lot about whether that should go into this programme, but it would inevitably be an underspend. As people will be aware, the previous community centre in South Ham had RAC. It was attached to the county council building, which was the former library, and that also had RAC, lots of asbestos, and so the buildings could not be used. In the interim period, we've secured Beacon House, the former pub, was a vacant empty property. It's in the process now of being converted into a community facility, plus also the Kings Road Cafe in the shopping precinct adjacent, already being used by the community. Long term, there will be a replacement community centre, which will actually far exceed what was there previously at Westside. One of the challenges we have is, at the moment, until there's a master plan, we don't know where we're going to put it. And also, until that master plan is completed, we don't know how many people it's got to serve. So there will be a community centre provided. It will meet the needs of the community because that's our policy, and a policy that was adopted by full council. But we realistically don't think that the master plan will be concluded and planning applications in to put the work within the programme. It is number one on our list to see whether it be included in next year's programme. So obviously when we review this every year, there'll be a new year 3 and it may be included in that because we think there's a good prospect that if the master plan is concluded, it will be included in that programme. But it will be delivered. This is a programme that, as I say, it's a 3-year programme. We don't think we'll be in a position to deliver and complete a community centre within the 3-year programme because obviously we're working closely with Sovereign and we've got to make sure we get the centre right because it's a massive investment. It's got to make sure we serve the community well. It's not a like-for-like replacement. It's got to be an enhancement that meets the needs of the modern South Ham community as regenerated over the next few years and into the future. So that's not in the actual programme at this stage, but it should not be forgotten and is an absolute number one priority for this council. It will be delivered and it will be fully funded between ourselves and the developers. So this is the capital programme. It will be going forward to full council. It goes on a slightly different journey. It did go to audit and accounts because obviously it impacts on our treasury investment management, if you like, because obviously as we spend this money, it's not being invested in revenue generating projects with the treasury team, but that money is capital receipts. It was there to be used, to be spent on meeting the council's priorities. We obviously use it and invest it in the meantime, but the time's come to use it wisely, and obviously a lot of it's being done. Some of the money is also exposed to Manydown, which is progressing well after 26 years of actually not progressing at all. Again, so we're very happy to spend the money on good things that are all going to improve Basingstoke long into the future and long after we've gone.
Thank you, Gavin. Colleagues? I just want to support Gavin and what he said about the Westside Community Centre and make it absolutely clear that we are committed to its re-provision. Now we're going to need to identify a location where residents support. We want to scope out what the centre would deliver working with residents so it meets their aspirations fully, and that the existing Westside Community Management team are involved because they're a critical part of the conversation. So we're going to be looking at now at how we can fund a new centre with partners and how that commitment can be reflected in the medium-term financial strategy looking forward. But for anybody who doubts the commitment or our willingness to fund in partnership a new community centre for South Ham, you can be absolutely assured that we are committed because we know South Ham needs a new community centre and we are absolutely clear tonight that it is a priority of this administration and we will look to do so in future years. as this capital programme proceeds, but we are absolutely committed to the delivery of the a brand new West Side Community Centre in Southam, because that community needs the new community centre. We are absolutely clear on that, and we will play our part as this council, working with our partners to deliver that new community centre for that community. Colleagues, Laura?
Just following on from that, just to show the commitment, and I think it's important that, because John Mackay is not here tonight, is to say how committed he is to delivering. And it's absolutely been pushing us as an administration to make sure that this is high on the agenda. But in relation to the manager of the West Side Community Centre, who is now based in the Ridgeway, she has been working with SNG on what that might look like as a service, and one of those things that she did is to actually come and visit the Hall for All and to look at what we're doing there, and for us to all explore how we might in the future look at community centres and how that might link to health and other services, and looking at good practice. So there's lots of work going on behind the scenes, and but it's just demonstrating that this community centre in Southam and Buckskin could be something very special, and it's an opportunity.
Thank you, Laura. Anybody else? The recommendations before us are on page 120 of this report, agenda item 8. They're set out there in bullet points. Do we agree those? Agreed? Okay, that means that those papers now, as the budget, will go to full council on the 26th of February for approval by full council. Going back to the main agenda this evening, the next item is the declaration of Little Penwood as a local nature reserve. Chris.
Thank you, Leader. Little Penwood is located in our Evingard ward and has important habitats and species present. It's an ancient semi-natural woodland, which is a UK priority habitat and is designated as a SINC. It's a wet woodland, which is also a UK priority habitat. There are important veteran holly trees. Veteran trees are irreplaceable habitat. Sphagnum and other wetland ground flora such as great tussock sedge underlying the wet woodland. Purple moor grass, rush pasture and a UK priority habitat which houses a colony of green-flowered helleborine orchids. There are 12 recorded bat species. Some of those are nationally rare, and there's a very important colonies throughout of woodland fungi. So I'm pleased that this has come now forward, and basically I commend the designation of this local nature reserve to Cabinet for your approval tonight. Thank you.
Brilliant, Chris. Colleagues? Any other body? That's a great decision to take, actually, and obviously is a prelude to what's coming in March in terms of commitments that we've made in other places. So item 9 on the agenda, page 183 on the reports page, and the recommendation in front of us. Colleagues, do I have your permission? Are we going to accept the recommendation? Agreed. That's great. Last one on the agenda is item 10, Strategic Asset Management Plan. It's page 197. Gavin.
Yep, this obviously fits in with the capital investment programme and also the MTFS to a certain extent as well. This is young glamorous stuff, so whilst the capital programme is generally dominated by new shiny things, this is more about how we keep the things we've got functioning and shiny. And so it talks about how we're going to manage our properties. It's obviously broken into a couple of things. Our operational properties, lots of work got into them to chase us down to that net zero over the last couple of years, but also to make a better working environment for our staff who use those facilities. As things change and teams grow, we need to make sure we've got the facilities that can meet their needs as well. Also alongside that is things like the community centres, where there's more investment going into them and we're looking after them and we're trying to make sure that they're better serving the communities. Even things like public toilets, this is where the unglamorous work of fixing them when someone vandalises them, which obviously is taking up an extortionate amount of our budget. I hope they're proud of themselves because they've closed a facility that's much needed and wasted taxpayers' money. And I hope they reflect on that before any more vandalism happens. It's a real shame when that kind of thing happens, but this is where that all gets managed and looked after. Alongside that, obviously, is our property investment strategy, which sits within that. Incredible work done by our officer team to make sure we extract best value from the properties we own, both supporting the local economy, improving the local economy, but also making sure that they can fund local services. For every £3 we spend, £1 is raised by our property portfolio. So it's a really important piece of work they do. They keep those services flowing. And this is how we're going to manage that over the next 12 months to make sure that we keep it heading in the right direction.
Thanks, Gary. Colleague Laura.
Couldn't help but mention, I just have to mention public toilets. So, yeah, I know, you just gave me that. Yeah, thank you, Gavin. Tragic, isn't it? Absolutely tragic. One of the first decisions that we made is to open the public toilet for Park Run in John Arlott toilets. And if you see the photographs of the damage that have been done, it's horrendous, absolutely horrendous. Thankfully, it was just one of the toilets, so we've managed to keep 2 open. But it, like you say, it's an enormous amount of money that is going to be needed to put that right. But again, we're committed to keeping public toilets open, and we're not going to close them. But yeah, what a shame. I mean, it's really sad. I mean, the other thing in relation to some of this asset is in relation to just work that goes on, and also the managing of the paddling pool, and and that as an asset and what we do, and the amount of investment in that, and the splash pad, and in relation to allotments.
Splash pads, toilets.
I know, it makes you really nervous. I can see you twitching there. But, in relation to troughs in allotments, it just goes on, and we're really addressing that need and really thinking about what needs to be done to bring them up to and be fit for purpose. So thank you, Gavin, for what you're doing, and thank you to the team.
It's worth making the point. We love doing that stuff. We love improving things. We love improving play areas. We like to provide new facilities. When someone vandalises a toilet, we have to fix it. That money we'd much rather spend on stuff to make something better rather than putting something back together. And so I really think we are right to be very upset when we do everything we do to make things better just for one absolute idiot or a group of idiots to ruin it for everybody. It is a complete waste of our money, and we'd rather spend it on better stuff.
Thank you, Gary. Colleagues, we have the paper in front of us, and we have the recommendation on 198. Are we agreed? Agreed. Thank you. That is the last item on the agenda this evening. Thank you very much.